woman in the Mandalorian. What did she do? She liked something? Or...
She was a Nazi.
Oh, that's different, right? I'm thinking of somebody else. Well, she's not a Nazi.
She's a white. She's
Look
involved
at that.
with white
You're calling her in that.
She's called other people Nazis.
Right.
So
which
she's
is
the Nazi.
Okay, everyone's a Nazi now.
Yeah.
She does hang with white supremacists.
It's like a Mel Brooks
She does?
movie.
Yeah.
Hangs with white
I suppose I'm now subject to defamation.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what your definition of white supremacist is. That also, the goalpost there changed a lot. Used to be a guy in a Klan hood who...
But I think we have to be really careful. There's two things the Republicans think they're going to get Biden on. Cancel culture and this whole Dr. Seuss stuff that's going on where they're reading Green Eggs and Ham, proving that some of these senators can actually read. And immigration. And so we can't ignore the fact that we got Donald Trump was in part because of political correctness. I mean, you did a whole show called
Man, can you believe it? That was a former Senator, Heidi Heitkamp, on Bill Maher's show, making a jackass out of herself. I'm telling you, as soon as they find out that you don't think the way they do, they are coming to get you. They will call you everything. It doesn't have to be true. Gina Carano for president. Cara Dune for president, baby. Is immediately dubbed a white supremacist. Because she thinks the way she does, and that is she leans a little more conservative. She didn't. Now, I saw an interview with Cara Dune, Gina Carano, I should say, and she said she wasn't thinking about politics before. She's still not thinking about politics. Their posts lately, if you look at them, any post that people are calling conservative or worthy of getting her fired from Disney or right-wing or white supremacist, what have you, her posts are anti-bully. That is one of her biggest kicks. She said she's been like that since she was a kid. She didn't like bullies. She doesn't like bullies. And right now, what's happening is the left is right now they are enjoying the whole bully thing. They're really digging that. They're coming down hard on guns. They're coming down hard on speech. They're coming down hard on anything and everything that doesn't fit the agenda of the left wing, of the socialists, of the progressive movement. Here's an example. Teachers compile a list of parents who question racial curriculum, plot war on them. Infiltrate, shut down their website, expose these people publicly. A group of current and former teachers, others in London County, Virginia, compiled a lengthy list of parents suspected of disagreeing with school system's actions, including its teaching of controversial racial concepts, with stated purpose, in part to infiltrate, use hackers to silence parents' communications and expose these people publicly. Members of a 624-member private Facebook group called Anti-Racist Parents of London County named parents and plotted fundraising and other offline work. Some use pseudonyms, but Daily Wire has identified them as who's who of affluent jurisdiction. Basically, here's what's happening in London County, Virginia. There is a group of parents. I hate to say a group, because they're not like this. They're not like this, like hey Bob, let's make a club or anything like that. It's a bunch of parents that are all concerned about the CRT, the critical race theory that's being taught in the schools. And this thing basically is a lesson in segregation. And what I mean by that is what they're trying to do is they're trying to get white kids to feel, one, guilty about being white, not looking at an entire picture, only look at a picture from the history, the picture of the victim's past, from the victim's point of view. If for those who choose to be victims, you can choose to be a victim, or you can choose that you will overcome any strife. What they're teaching these kids in the critical race theory is that right now, there's no way to get better when it comes to race. You're either white and you're racist, or you're not white and you're not. That's basically it. And for people that thought that they were going to raise their children as I don't want to say necessarily colorblind, but to treat people with respect, despite who they are, where they come from, or what they look like. If you thought you were going to teach your kids that, the schools are teaching you have to identify by color. And that being white is the problem. Here's where critical race theory lands. That critical race theory teaches that black people and Hispanic people and Asian people cannot overcome anything. They cannot learn. They cannot provide for themselves. They cannot stride forward because white people are holding them down. Now, if you are white and you feel that you're not doing that, well, that's a problem too. If you feel you're not being racist, or you're not standing in someone's way, or you're not holding someone down, if you will, that is a form of racism. It is a vicious circle, and that is what these people want to teach in the schools, and the parents are against that. Now, there has been a GoFundMe page for people who are obviously going into the legal fees and challenging this, and challenging critical race theory being taught in the schools. But GoFundMe shut that down. So there's no winning, because big tech is on the side of all of this. And I know we need the schools back open for a myriad of reasons. But do we really want the schools back open? Because there's the problem. This stuff is being taught in the schools. And we're demanding these schools be open. Meanwhile, you got teachers they keep saying, we're not your babysitters, we're not your babysitters. There was just another guy in California who had to take his whole page down or something along that lines, because of course he's saying wanting to open the schools is white supremacy. This guy couldn't be more white. Snow. This guy is like, eating marshmallow fluff on white bread in a snowstorm white. Driving in your white Cadillac. That's how white this guy is. And he's immediately saying that parents that want their kids back in school are white supremacists. Come on. And these are the people that are teaching our kids. So we want the schools back open, but do we really want our kids in the hands of these people? This is nuts. It is a vicious, vicious cycle. Fascinating. It's fascinating the situation that we're in. And the kids are the ones suffering all the way around. In San Diego, right now, the schools are not open. Except for the fact that they have hundreds of illegal immigrant girls being stationed in a facility. I believe it's some sort of some sort of a center, some auditorium of some sorts. So they have hundreds of these immigrant girls because they have the immigrant boys in Texas, I believe in Dallas. So in San Diego, they have all these immigrant girls, and schools are closed except for the immigrant girls. So United States students do not get to classrooms, despite the families, and parents wanting, and the kids wanting to be back in the classroom. So United States citizens, no school. Illegal immigrant children, school. In-class learning. In-class learning for these kids that really aren't even supposed to be here and can be here in a very legal, very uniformed way. But instead, they just cross the border. They separate the boys from the girls. You pay millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to accommodate these people. And United States citizens cannot get their classroom open because white supremacy, which is beyond me, where they came to that conclusion. There's that. Then here's another interesting thing about those kids on the border. Biden begs for volunteers to babysit COVID-infected foreigners at the border. All right. Now he's begging everyone. He just got done recently begging, put your mask back on. It's the only way out. Despite now everyone and their mama coming out and saying that the mask did not work. It's obvious that it did not work. Over 500,000 dead. All of them could be claimed as COVID of that 500,000. Even though God knows how many were false positive and how many were fake tests and how many they just, get gunshot to the head. Oh, but he had COVID on his pinky. But we've claimed 500,000 people. We've claimed that 500,000 people have died of COVID, and it spread. The hospitals, they took on a little task there. to this day, even after here's here's an interesting fact. After Biden, the reason Biden, I should say, decided to come out on TV and just beg and just say, hey, it's the patriotic thing to do this thing that's not working. It's this super duper patriotic thing to do. The reason he said that is because Texas and Mississippi decided that they were going to drop their mask mandates. And they did. And then, of course, all kinds of Hollywood and politicians, idiots, come on and say that Texas is trying to kill people. Texas is trying to kill people. You know, they don't pay too much attention to Mississippi. But Texas is trying to kill people. They're stupid. They're ignorant. They're white supremacists because everything is white supremacy. So, meanwhile, since the mask mandate, Texas and Mississippi's numbers, since they dropped the mask mandate, Texas and Mississippi's numbers have declined dramatically. Just shockingly. Now, there has been an increase in hospitalizations in some states. The 3 top states that had an increase in hospitalizations are Michigan, New Jersey, and let's say it all together on 3. 1, 2, 3. New York. So, those states are the guideline that Biden is using as an excuse. Those 3 states that make this excuse for everyone else to put the face diaper back on. All right, here in Ohio, we haven't dropped the whole face thing, the whole face rag. We haven't dropped it yet. It's not necessarily a mandate, but businesses are we're just nice in Ohio. We feel, okay, maybe this is just the best thing if we could just all work together. And there's not a whole lot of complaining in Ohio. So we're all wearing the face diaper. I walked into the store the other day and completely forgot mine, got all the way into the store, and one lady was just like, oh, sir, you have to wear a mask. And like I said, we're nice. I said, oh, ran back out, grabbed my face diaper, slapped it on my face, and left it at that. Wasn't going to fight. I'm not into the whole mask debate thing. But it's not a thing. It's really not doing what they say it should be doing. In fact, OSHA, if I can find it in my stacks of stuff, it went against the OSHA idea. They thought it was OSHA felt that it should only be worn as an emergency thing. I'll have to find that for you and share it with you tomorrow. If I can't come across it now, I'll keep looking though. But OSHA felt that it's a bad idea. CDC, up and down, mask, no mask, mask, no mask, mask, no mask. That is, we're still arguing about whether or not it's working. When it clearly hasn't made a difference. And Biden is trying to force these masks on people. Again, despite no evidence So what is that telling you? It's obviously telling you that it is indeed a power play. The mask, at this point especially, and it wasn't just, it was in February, yeah, where the prophylactics, when they said remdesivir and hydroxychloroquine were getting the job done. We're getting the job done. We owe a lot of doctors an apology. Right? Now they're talking about vaccine passports, and you not be able to go into some places. They were talking about was it when the concert venues, or like some sort of Ticketmaster or something along that lines. We're talking about you may not be able to go to concerts if you don't get this vaccine. Some sports arenas are talking about you may not be able to come to these games. I don't need any of those things. It's, I have a television. I don't need any of those things. I'm fine with picnics outside. I'm fine with outdoor music. I'm fine with birthday parties, bike rides, fishing, being with my family. I don't need to go see a baseball game live. I don't need to go see a football game or basketball game. I don't need to see even my favorite bands. I don't need to sit in a chair in a crowded area. It's the music I'm after, right? I don't see, there's nothing that Robert Smith does on stage that I haven't seen him do in a music video. And it's the music I'm after. So, if indeed, and we will, because we are following the path of the credit score, the social credit score that China has. And if you're a good boy or girl, you get to do things. And the better you are to the state, the more you get to do. And that's not the freedom I know. So I just assume, I'll be in my corner at this point. At this point, but it's interesting to see what we're doing with their children and how we're dragging them through the mud by teaching them face diapers are necessary. Because how many kids when they do get back to school are going to suffer from anxiety from being separated from their face diaper because of what we've done to the country at this point. Right now, there are incredibly brilliant people that are nervous, good, decent, smart people that are nervous about taking off the mask. There are people that have the vaccine that are still afraid to take off the mask. It's true. What is the vaccine for? Because if you still need to wear the mask after the vaccine, because they tell you the vaccine, you're not going to get the coronavirus anymore. You won't have the chance of that. Plus, you will not be asymptomatic. So the vaccine is actually doing what they said the mask was supposed to be doing, which it wasn't. Protecting people from, you're keeping other people from getting sick, which, again, a crock. But the vaccine apparently is supposed to do that. If you don't believe it does that, or you don't trust that it does that, then why'd you get the vaccine? The idea that we're wearing the mask now while the vaccine is still out there, because, again, you get the vaccine, even for the people that don't get the vaccine. If you got COVID already, you're not going to get it again. You don't even need the vaccine. If you got COVID and you got the vaccine, I guess double protection, 2 condoms, or 2 masks, like they were trying to push on us a little bit earlier this year. Or if you've never had it and you're around people that have had the vaccine, nothing to worry about. Not a thing to worry about. But instead, they're pushing the mask. They insist on pushing the mask. And Biden said that they've got over 100. They shot past 100 million people with vaccinations already. That's over a third, or that's roughly a third of the country, if not more by now, because that was like last week where he said they shot over, well, past 100 million. So a third of the country, at least, says, we're being told, has the vaccine. Much of the people that didn't get the vaccine are the younger ones. They have less to worry about. And now even the younger ones are allowed to get the vaccine. But if over a third of the country has the vaccine, much of who didn't get the vaccine at that point were younger, don't have anything to worry about. Because even if they did get COVID, they're less likely to be affected, fatally. Very less. They're far, far less likely to get affected fatally. So if they got it, if they got it, they have nothing to worry about. They got it, and it's gone. So herd immunity should happen like in weeks, if that's the case. All right? And then, again, I had a friend that was ticked off of me because I mentioned herd immunity way back in like April of last year. April or May of last year. He was ticked off at me because I mentioned herd immunity. Meanwhile, Sweden, it's exactly the way they ran, and it's exactly how beautifully they had, 7%? They only had like a 7% increase in their death total so they only had 7% increase in their total, in their yearly death total. And here we had like a 50 some odd percent increase in our yearly death total. Sweden did nothing. They just gave you the facts. This is how coronavirus works. It's probably not a bad idea to stay away from each other. Not necessarily stay away from each other, but stay distant from each other. Try not to travel too much. If you feel you need to wear a mask, wear a mask. We're not going to force you to do anything. They did nothing except inform its citizens. And Sweden, compared to all the other goofs around the world, around this planet, Sweden looks genius. They look godlike in comparison. All right? We had the president did what he could. He didn't know anything about this, so he brought in some professionals. And the professionals stuck him in the back every stinking time. They stuck him in the back. That's where we are. That's where we are now. Right now, the CDC, the new CDC director, she's crying about how, it's just a little bit longer. We're almost there. And she said she was going to go off If you watch that video of the CDC director begging everyone, just keep the mask on just a little bit longer. We're almost there. We're almost there. And she literally says, I'm going to go off script as a mother and, and a wife or whatever she goes on to. Watch her eyes. She's so off script that she's reading. Watch her eyes. That's how off script she was. That's how phony things are right now. This desperate attempt, which, quite frankly, it's not that desperate because people are just falling in line, of total control. The mask are this psychological thing. When you see someone else wearing the mask, you feel you need to wear the mask, and you fall in line. You fall in line. And so that continues. And again, it's the kids that are growing up in this new control culture that we move, this single file line. Don't step out of it. They're the ones that are suffering the most on all of this. I've got a couple of videos that are interesting. Just kind of switch gears here. Seems to be like, to me, like I got a little concept here, a little a little theme going on about kids. I just saw where a 7-year-old boy, I really want to look into that story before, but I just saw a headline where a 7-year-old boy was arrested by police on rape charges. I just saw that, so I didn't want to get into that immediately. So tomorrow, I'm gonna get the details on it and see what that issue is about. But it's what's scary is all the things that are happening with our youth in these just last couple of weeks. Here's a clip. I want to share this one with you. It's this is Juan Williams, and he's talking about the two girls that tried to carjack the gentleman that they ended up murdering. I want you to see where Juan Williams is, where he wants to take this. It's disturbing in and of itself.
Gee, I can tell you, it's not that I would say it's top of the front page or top of mind for everybody in Washington, but people are talking about it, Jesse. I think in part what it is it's tragic. I mean, you got these teenage girls. I mean, they're little kids. They're not gangsters. They're not hardened criminals. I don't think they intended to kill anybody. They were looking to have a joyride. And it just went way wrong, way out of control, and ended up in a gross tragedy. I mean, this is unbelievable. Their lives are ruined.
Yeah, he's talking about. All right, in Washington, there was a gentleman. He was 65 years old, a grandfather, father, what have you. I think he was Syrian born. He was definitely a Middle Eastern. Of a Middle Eastern background. And these two, I don't really want to show the video. I posted the video on Facebook, by the way, Facebook, A to Jet Noise on Facebook. Visit me there, hit like, support me in any way you can, as well as on Rumble and Facebook, Parler. Back to this. Juan Williams called it joyride. called it a joyride, that these girls were, that's what she was, or I should say, that's what they were looking for. And they weren't, it's hard to say that when they came with a taser. And if you watch the video, there's some bystanders, of course, like there always is with their cameras, with their phones, I should say. And what happened was they wanted to steal the car for whatever reason. These two girls, 13 and 15. And the gentleman, it's an Uber driver, the gentleman was telling the girls to get out of the car. Get out of the car. And because they're already harassing him. They were trying to rob him and so on and so forth, including taking the car. And he was kind of in and halfway out of the car. And the one girl on the passenger side it decided that she was going to step on the gas. And again, he's halfway in and halfway out. Now, as the car's going down the road, it hits up like against a pole or a garbage can or something along that lines. Now, luckily, it didn't seem to do him any harm or much harm then. Hard to tell. But they got down the street and went to take a turn. Now, granted, the car's now speeding down this street, and no one has total control of this car. It's this girl fighting this older man. He's trying to hang on for, dear life, whatever, in his situation. And you hear this big bang. All this is being caught on a video camera, on a bystander's video, their phone. You hear this big crash. So now the bystander goes taking off down the street, and they're running towards the crash. When he gets there, puts the phone back up, and now the car is literally on its side up against the curb. It's completely on its side, on its driver's side. And it happened, looks like all this happened like in front of a recruiting office, because all of a sudden there's all these military people around. So they come rushing out, and the girls are climbing out of the car. In the video, you can see the girls climbing out of the car. And then as the camera pans over a little to the left, about the width of a healthy, city sidewalk, from the curb to a fence, the other side of that sidewalk, the old man is now lying face down, twitching, barely twitching, on the sidewalk. And the girls are getting taken out of the car. People are screaming, hey, they tried to steal the car, The military looks like they took a little action, like they kind of said, well, maybe you girls don't need to go anywhere. So they were holding on to the girls. One of the girls screams out, my phone's in there. My phone is in there. All right. Keep in mind that they were just speeding down a city street, flipped the car on its side. The man flies out. He's all but dead. They were almost killed because of the severity of the accident. And it's a girl. I don't know if it's the 13 or the 15-year-old. She is worried about her phone. That she doesn't have her phone. But that's the mentality we're dealing with, right? Part of the reason that they got into the accident is because they tased him while they were speeding down the road. You're speeding down the road, and you can't calculate, if I tase this man who is in the driver's seat, we could get in a serious situation. Again, that's the mentality we're dealing with. To call it a joyride like Juan Williams did is asinine. That they were looking for a joyride. You don't carry a taser and use a taser on someone after you're trying to rob them. None of that sounds like a joyride. And that they were teenage girls and they weren't gang members. He doesn't know that. A lot of girls in gangs. I'm not saying that these two were in gangs. What I'm saying is that he doesn't know that. But Juan Williams, being a tool for the left, is again painting, pretty flowers on turds, and it's got to stop. One of the things we don't do, one of the issues that we're dealing with, is that we're not dealing with the truth anymore. And here's another example. Here's another example of that. There's a mother who is suing the police, and because she's saying that her son, her 5-year-old son, has decided, or I should say that he is here we go. A Maryland mother has filed a lawsuit against the Montgomery County Police Department after her 5-year-old son was subjected to nightmare experience, according to NBC News, including threats, screaming, and handcuffing. Now, I'm going to show you the video on this. I'm going to just a clip. The video is up to an hour long, so I'm certainly not going to show you the entire video. But I want you to see the situation where this 5-year-old is dealing with the police officer. Well, I should say the police are dealing with this 5-year-old. And I want you to come to a conclusion on whether or not the police officer handles this right. I should probably give you the video, huh?
I'm going with you. Let's go.
Oh, we're going to have problems. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't want to hear it. I still don't want to hear it. You better stop. You better stop. You better cut that off.
I don't want to go.
I don't care. You don't make that decision for yourself. Let me,
He just took a clipboard.
All right.
hit what? Is he special needs?
Okay, just before that, my apologies on starting it. It's such a late clip. But just before that, they had found the child on the street. Again, 5 years old. And mom is suing them. Let me read some of the details on this. The incident took place in January 2020. And Montgomery County Police released body camera footage of the exchange on Friday. On that January day, the child, who remains unidentified at the time of this reporting, reportedly wandered away from school without permission. Hold on. The disturbing video begins when one of the officers discovered the child on the residential street near the school. An officer stops the child and can be heard asking, "Listen to me, how old are you?" The child responds, 5. The officer fired back, "You feel like you can make your own decisions? You feel like you can do what you want?" Now, he's screaming at him like a parent when he's saying that. Here we go. The child naturally became emotional and carrying on during the questioning. As police walked the child to the rear of the patrol vehicle, the child began screaming, "You better stop," an officer told the boy in response. According to the outlet, as the 50-minute video unfolds, the interactions between the law enforcement officers and the child escalates. The boy's sobs appears, and you heard him sobbing there, appears inconsolable as officers repeatedly tell him that he is bad and should be beaten. Hold on. One of the officers can be heard asking the child, "Does your mama spank you? Does your mama spank you? She's going to spank you today." That was a lady officer. When the boy doesn't stop crying, a police officer screams just inches from his face. Later, after the child was reunited with his mother, a police officer takes out a pair of handcuffs and places the boy's wrist inside them. Now, the officer told the boy, "You know that you know what these are for. These are for people who don't want to listen and don't know how to act." All right. I'm going to fast forward this video a little bit. Again, this video is an hour, roughly just under an hour. They get the little boy back to school. All right, now keep in mind, mom wants to sue these people. She wants to sue these people, and because of how she's saying that they were being mean to her child. They were talking down to her child. She felt that they were threatening her child. The kid has nightmares. All right. The reason he was out on the street, again, because they said he strayed away from school. The reason he's out on the street is because when he gets disciplined in school, he can't take it. He's 5 years old. He can't take that he's being reprimanded, what have you, and he strikes out. In the video, they're explaining to the mom that he took a clipboard and hit the teacher in the head because he was being disciplined. Also in that video, the same school representative mentions how sweet the little boy can be for the most part. But what happens is, again, when he gets reprimanded or he is disciplined in any way, he loses his mind. Also in the video, mom mentions that it is a thing for him to react like that. That he does that a lot. She also agreed with the school representative that he can be a sweet boy. But apparently now this boy has mood swings. This could be, something, a psychological issue that you may want to look into. Throughout the video, you see the little boy's embarrassed to be in the room because he now realizes that he has caused all kinds of trouble and that he may be in trouble. Mom comes in and she's, she at one point she says she doesn't swear around him or anything like that, but then she says, I'm going to whoop your ass kind of thing. The conversation between the school representative, the police officers, and the mom is a very cordial conversation, and they all agree that he needs, that something needs to be done. And the male officer, because one male, one female, both black, just in case, because that's a thing now, right? You can't yell at a black kid if you're white. So both of them are black. So we can take that off the table. The male officer is talking to the child, the 5-year-old, as a father would. Rough talk, tough love, painting scenarios. Because obviously the 5-year-old doesn't get to experience that. And he is trying to portray some sort of dominance or that he's in control of things. Now, keep in mind, he was reprimanded, hit the teacher in the head with the clipboard, and decided that he was just going to walk out of the school. No, son, you cannot do that. Now, is it rough talk? Should police officers be talking? Well, nobody else is talking to him like that. Nobody else is giving him, some bottom line scenarios or anything like that. And I just, there's this movement, this kind of hope that officers will have to go through some sort of change of some kind. They'll learn how to talk to people and be, cordial, understanding, and loving and respectful. But all of those things did not work or have not been working for this 5-year-old. When they found him, he tried to hide behind the car. He's 5. How did he come across the whole thought process of hiding from the police? He's 5. Now, I don't care where you land on this. I really do not care where you land on this. But a 5-year-old should not be making those sorts of decisions under any circumstance. You just don't decide, I'm just going to walk out of the school. I'm just going to hit this person with a clipboard, this adult with a clipboard. Mom is reprimanding him right in front of people. Is that how we treat adults? She asked. So he's 5. He's making those sorts of decisions. Again, he decides that nothing is going his way at school, so he is going to leave school. Now, why shouldn't kids make those decisions? Well, let's look at the flip side of someone making a decision similar to that. That child was 5. This child is 12. This child decides that he's going to leave his house at roughly 2 in the morning. And, well, I'll just let them tell you. I'll just let the news anchors tell you the story here. Hold on.
Child's attacker is still out there. The boy remains in the hospital, and we want to warn you, the video of the story is difficult
12 years
to
old.
watch. CBS 4's Ted Scouten is live for us in Brownsville, where the terrifying scene unfolded. Ted?
Yeah, Ellie and Carly, we're learning new information today. First news that we learned is good news in this situation. His injuries are not life-threatening. That's what police told us earlier today. Now, it was right back here.
I want you to notice how the kid's dressed as well.
Police say that attack happened, and it was several hours after detectives say he snuck out of his house.
Watch the video closely.
It's difficult to watch as we see a bloody 12-year-old stumble. Police say he had just been kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and shot in the face when he made his way to this Brownsville convenience store.
I couldn't sleep at all that night.
Johnny is the one who found the child. He's the guy on the bike. He was leading the young boy to the store to get help.
He was screaming, help, somebody help me, please, please, please. So I brought him to the store where they could call the police for him, you know. He was conscious. He fell on the sidewalk, and he said he had been shot.
You can see the child reaching out to steady himself on the garbage can, then falling to the ground. Police tell us he was not able to see after his attack. It happened just blocks away, between 2 and 3:30 in the morning on Saturday. Detectives say the 12-year-old snuck out of his house to visit friends when a man in a black four-door with a gun grabbed him at Northwest 43rd Terrace and 30th Avenue.
He says the driver got off, walked up to him, and that's when grabbed him and forced him inside of the vehicle. Once he was inside the vehicle, he tried to get out, but the child locks were activated and he couldn't open the doors.
Police say he was driven to this empty lot at Northwest 45th Street and 31st Avenue, where he was sexually assaulted and shot inside the car.
The young boy was trying to fight him off. During the struggle and the fight, he hears a loud noise. He didn't even say bang. He just said he heard a really loud pop. And when he heard that pop, that's when he noted the subject opens the door, pushes him out of the car.
At that point, police say he could not see, so he began to wander, guiding himself by touch.
Again, how he's
looking for
dressed.
help. That's when Johnny found him, and he got the help he needed.
That bullet would have gone a millimeter in either direction, and this boy would have lost his life right there on that scene.
Yeah, so it's the 5-year-old leaves the school, walks down the street, feels he can do anything he wants. The 12-year-old sneaks out of his house. They said that he even put pillows underneath his blanket so that his parents wouldn't know that he was missing. He sneaks out of his house to go to a friend's house. And then he runs into this guy, and this guy takes advantage of him and rapes him and damn near kills him. That is a 12-year-old making a decision that he's not supposed to be making. He has no business making that decision. At 2-something in the morning, he decides he says he's going to see friends. And I kept telling you to look at the way he's dressed. And he's supposedly going over a friend's house. And in today's world, it's hard for me to just completely grasp onto what's originally reported or what's originally being said. I don't want to come to any conclusions. I think by me just saying that, I think that you understand where I might be going on that. But since I don't know, I won't do that. But the real issue here is that the 12-year-old decided that he was just that he was capable of making the decision that he can be out in during a dangerous time, which is just nighttime period. In that sort of urban setting. All right. Now, does he know the consequences? Well, apparently not, right? He learned the consequences. If indeed everything is the way it happened, chances are he will never ever do that again. For as long as he lives. Again, decides that he is capable enough of sneaking into the house and going to do whatever he wants to do. And gets sexually assaulted, and damn near killed. Ends up in the hospital. Again, just like they said, he's very lucky that he's still alive. Everyone is in that situation is lucky. By the way, they did catch the guy that did it, and he just looks like a flat-out monster. He's going to be where he needs to be, and he really doesn't need to be away from there ever again. But that is why children should not be making these type of decisions. And keeping them under this educational plan clever how I bounced back. Keeping them under this educational plan, and right now, it's hard to call it education. It's not that hard to call it indoctrination. We're giving these children far too much credit with their intelligence. Everyone's kid is smarter than everyone else's kid. These pets on the back, where they come home and they tell you, Mom and Dad, global warming. Mom and Dad, we should recycle. Mom and Dad, fluorescent light bulbs. Mom and Dad. You can appreciate their efforts, but you have to start asking their efforts and trying to be wise about certain things. But you are the parent. You are wiser just in years. You've just been around longer than they have. And again, you can appreciate their efforts and wanting to stand up and, pave their own path and want to help, even though, help people or help the planet, what have you. You can appreciate that. But it is important to know that no matter how smart your kid is, you are still the parent and you are the wiser one. You've just been there. And all these new little fangled things that come along, that's their world. That's their world. But that you have to recognize that their world, their little teeny corner circle of the world, has to fit in the bigger plan. And you know more about the bigger plan than they do. So it's important to remind your children that they are not as special as you feel they are. And if you can't do that, then you're the problem. That sounds harsher than it actually is. But your kids are not special. They are your children. There's where the love begins and ends. They're not your, special little king, princess, savior of the planet. They're none of those things. They're still your children. And you have to take charge. This goes back to the critical race theory. If you are of color, not white, you're being told that you cannot step forward unless white people help you. And if you are white, you should not step forward because you are being unfair to the people that are not white. And none of those damn things are true. None of those things are true. Grab back hold of your kids. Indeed. Grab back hold of your kids. Because when they go off to college, they come back with all of this progressive knowledge. And it's because you didn't instill the foundation. you weren't being a parent. So anyone outside of your world can manipulate your kid. If you send them off to school and they were just sweet as pie, they were, they saw things remotely the way you did, or they at least were respectful of your side, and they come back and they start telling you how wrong you are and how pathetic, because some of them will tell you that. Because all during the Trump administration, there were young couples, young parents, that wouldn't let their grandparents, the young couples wouldn't let their children see their grandparents, because the grandparents may say, well, I like what Trump's doing. Well, you're just a white supremacist, or you're not allowed to see our children. You're not allowed to see your grandchildren unless you change your mind. That is the type of thinking. Family is just gone for those people. For those people, family is not a thing, right? And that's another thing too. Is they're trying to the progressives are trying to break up the family unit, and that is certainly a bad thing. So that's it in a nutshell. Apparently, kids were the theme today. Kids were the theme today. But this one is kind of, let me give you this one. I don't even want to see your face, but I'm going to play you this audio, and then we'll close out today's show. Listen to this. This is this is Kamala Harris talking about childcare, and for some reason, she has what was that the Joker had?
People are seeing that affordable childcare is a big deal. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and saying, we're not paying them nearly enough.
What is with the laughter? She's talking about childcare, and she's trying to make a point that these are the schools that don't want to open, because of white supremacy, or we're not your babysitters kind of thing. And it's what she's saying is that since the schools aren't open, she's like, you got these people over a barrel. That's basically what she's saying. You've got these people over a barrel. They pretty much have to do what you say, because they need you. Indeed, they do. So basically, that's what she's trying to tell these, educators that she's talking to, how parents suck, and if they want their kids back in the school, you guys should just, pretty much blackmail them or whatever. And then she breaks out in laughter. Now, a lot of people call it nervous laughter, but I call it what Joker. Have you seen the Joker movie yet? With Joaquin Phoenix, he had a condition called pseudo-bulbar effect, the pseudo-bulbar effect, and apparently it's a real thing, where your reaction, it doesn't quite fit the situation. So where you could be, laughing, you probably break out in a cry, or when you're nervous or frightened or angry, you might break out in a laugh. Pseudo-bulbar effect. I think that's what it's pronounced. And Kamala Harris, and this it's fascinating, because she was at the border or I shouldn't say she was at the border. They asked her if she was going to visit the border, and she said, "Well, not today." And then she broke out in the same stupid cackle. I heard someone call her the giggler. Can't call her a Joker, right? So he called it. Can't. And the laugher doesn't really. Not really cool, but the giggler. Indeed, Kamala Harris has a new nickname, the Giggler. And she breaks out in this weird laugh when you ask her a serious question. And she can't necessarily, it's like she can't necessarily finish a thought and just breaks out in this laugh. Which I guess it's at least audio compared to Joe Biden, who just, when he can't finish a thought, it just goes, well, you know the thing. Just goes silent. So I guess it's still a soundbite if she's laughing, but the laugh is ridiculous. It shows you how empty she is. There's nothing behind what she has to say. She's got her and Jen Psaki are like two peas in a pod. Because if Jen Psaki's not circling back to something she says will refer to, she's always sending you, if you ask her a question, you need to refer to this department. You need to refer to that person. You need to talk to those people. So they never finish a thought. So Kamala uses the giggle, and Jen Psaki is always passing about. But that's enough of those two idiots. Thank you for joining me today. And I hope we were able to turn a few lights on for you. And again, like I understood, it was strange how it all came together. Where the theme seemed to be about children. Except for the opening, which was more about the cancel culture thing with Gina Carano, which is pathetic in and of itself, because we think the way we do, we are evil, we are hanging around with white supremacists, or Nazis, or anything, and that's exhausting. It's insulting. I get the game that they're playing, but it's tiresome. And I encourage Gina Carano to sue Heidi Heitkamp. That has to start happening more. When you are defamed like that, and Heitkamp knew it, because she even brought up, she goes, I suppose I'm, candidate for defamation. She knew as soon as she opened her mouth and said that she was wrong. She has no proof of that Gina Carano's hanging around with a white supremacist, or that she is a white supremacist. Ms. Heitkamp, you need to grow up. And again, for no other reason than examples have to be made of. If for no other reason. People cannot get away with saying those type of things. So Gina Carano, please, Cara Dune for president. Please consider suing Heidi Heitkamp for throwing you under the bus like that. That was pretty darn disgusting. A to Jet Noise. Facebook. Rumble. YouTube. Parler. A to Jet Noise. ADA Jet Noise. Please join me. Hit like. Subscribe. Love to have you aboard, and talk about these issues and try to inform you guys, give you the water cooler talk and the ammunition that you need, and we can work these things out together, because I don't have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. So looks like I can be here tomorrow. Nothing's going to fall apart on me. So see you Thursday and Good Friday. Good Friday coming up. Easter weekend coming up. Thanks for joining me today. And I will see you very soon. Again, hopefully tomorrow. Till then, big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.